welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Friday, July 10th, 2026. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral for the Queer God Squad. Join me today and most days. Joining me are Bishop Robert Griffin and Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by hot spouts happening out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world. In 2026, we are celebrating the 41st anniversary of Hot Spots magazine with Queer News Tonight, sharing over 14,000 stories and 12 million views so far. We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
Please like and share today's story, and if you'd like to support the work of Sunshine Cathedral, visit sunshinecathedral.org.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Faith groups push Cuba relief efforts. As Cuba faces a severe humanitarian crisis characterized by economic instability, fuel shortages, and crumbling infrastructure, faith-based organizations are actively working to influence U.S. policy and provide essential relief. The situation in Cuba has become increasingly dire, with reports of widespread despair, food insecurity, and a lack of essential medicines. In response, both the United States government and various faith communities are navigating complex roles in both diplomacy and aid delivery.
The U.S. government has historically viewed faith groups as vital conduits for aid and community engagement while pushing for regime change. Recently, U.S. diplomats have met with various religious leaders, including Catholic bishops and evangelical groups, to discuss the crisis. While the State Department has attempted to give aid through the Catholic Church due to mistrust of the government, some of this assistance has been delayed by bureaucratic hurdles. Religious organizations are divided in their approach to U.S.-Cuba relations. Some evangelical groups are positioning themselves to play a significant role in providing aid, believing that their established networks on the ground make them ideal partners for future humanitarian efforts.
Conversely, many mainline Protestant denominations and the Catholic Church continue to emphasize traditional diplomacy, advocating for dialogue over economic sanctions, which they argue disproportionately harm the most vulnerable.
These faith groups face challenges in having their voices heard by policymakers. While some argue that religious freedom in Cuba has improved and that sanctions should be lifted, others continue to report on government harassment of religious leaders. Despite these differing perspectives, representatives from these organizations maintain that the church serves as a crucial bridge, attempting to mitigate the suffering of the Cuban people and urging both governments to pursue dialogue to prevent further catastrophe. The Queer God Squad, with ecclesiastical connections with the queer community in Cuba, is holding Cuba in our hearts as we pray weekly. May peace prevail on earth.
For several years now, we have been making trips to Cuba that, at least for us, started when we were in seminary with the study abroad program, and it continued through our work with denomination work and also work with global justice. And over those years, we built substantial friendships with people that really can, we check in with often to, most recently to say, it's not even how can we help, but how can we be of support to you? Because every channel of avenue that is meant to be of assistance has really just been cut off by the United States at this point. And that's kind of the tragic part of all of what's happening there right now with the blockades or the continuing blockades. And it's much more worse now than it was before. And I think as we look at this is one of those moments in time when we look and say, how can this happen? Why is this happening? And certainly may peace prevail on earth, but what is my part in making that peace prevail on earth as it relates to Cuba, which sits not too far from where we are?
Right, right. And if the U.S. government is not jumping in, I think it really is imperative that faith communities jump in and offer support. Though I got to tell you, I'm unsure of how that support will manifest for the Cuban population.
Yeah. It's even worse than that, though.
Okay.
It's not just that we can't get relief to them. We're the reason they need relief.
Yeah.
I don't mean the occasional, hurricane that'll devastate, or like when AIDS hit or COVID.
Mm.
No, there's been a decades-long, more than half a century long blockade. Like we have just, and despite our just trying to isolate them and not let them get services they need, they continue to survive. They have survived longer than anyone I can think of that the United States tried to just devastate and control and demonize and isolate. Um, I know people who have left Cuba, and I think there's this one guy in the late 70s, early 80s that he left because he felt oppressed or whatever. So he was one of those people on a door, that just floats and hopes for the best. But in the last 20 years, 24 years, everyone I know who've left Cuba, first of all, no one did for a long time. And now several people have done. And it's because they can't make a living. There's no opportunity right now. They don't even know if they're going to have lights on all day or AC in the summertime. They've left because of the economic conditions that are the result of our policy toward them.
Mm.
So I'm not saying that I would trade governments with them, although right now I'm not very pleased or impressed with our government either. But I am saying that some of the nicest, most generous people I've ever met, I met in Cuba. I've been there half a dozen times now, maybe more. I've worked with aid agencies there. I've worked with government officials there. I've worked with just people living there, and not just in Havana. You're like, oh, they put on a good show in the capital. So no, we've been out into the rural areas, and have met people from all kinds of places. We have a church there. We have a church in Matanzas, and so I've never been afraid in Cuba. I've never been afraid. I'm sometimes afraid when I'm in Jamaica. I'm sometimes afraid when I am in Oklahoma or Arkansas or West Virginia, but I'm never afraid in Cuba. So I'm still a visitor. I still don't know what it's like, but everyone I've spoken to, uh, everything I've seen, everything I've experienced, the demonization of Cuba is unfair. Now, we have disagreed with other government structures, Vietnam, China, and we have not treated them this way. In fact, we have open relations with them. And during a previous administration, when things were opened, when diplomatic relationships were becoming a little more official, when you could get there easily as a journalist or to provide humanitarian aid or as a student, things actually seemed pretty good in lots of ways. And it seems like we've decided to go back on all of that. And by punishing Cuba for who they are, for the government that they've chosen, for the government that they have, it's making people suffer. And I think the strategy is make them so unhappy that they will revolt or whatever. But meanwhile, it is just mothers and children and doctors and teachers and grandparents on the ground who are made to suffer. And there's nothing moral about our policy toward Cuba. And we've actually contributed to a lot of their suffering. And I hate that. I hate that. And then when non-government we tried to offer aid, it's made more difficult.
Yeah.
And so it's really a tragic situation. These people are our neighbors. I mean, here in Fort Lauderdale, literally our neighbors. The Bahamas, Jamaica, Cuba, closer to us than my mother in northwestern Arkansas, and southwestern Arkansas. They're close. We can get there easily, cheaply, quickly. These are literally our neighbors. But because we judge people by politics, if people are judging us by our politics right now, they're going to think very not great of us. And yet I think most of us are pretty good people. It's not about the politics. It's not about the religion. It's not about the government. These are people, and people deserve medicine, food, education, water, safe place to live, regardless of all this other stuff. So I'm glad we're trying to get aid to Cuba. I hope it succeeds. I also hope that our government once again starts treating them like an autonomous country that deserves respect and diplomacy. And we'll always have differences, but let's work those out like adults instead of just like bullies saying the person who has the most firepower and the loudest megaphone wins. That hasn't worked in thousands of years. And meanwhile, the Cuban people are people, and they are our sisters and brothers. And if we think that way, then that's going to make things different and better on every side. And that's today with the Queer God Squad. Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ+ community is talking about. Please like and share this and other episodes of the Queer God Squad. Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together, and also remember that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.